I get that. How about this bell? The bell doesn't make a loud sound, so bell. Yeah, that's right. That came from Ted Lasso, where one of the coaches was allergic to metal, so he didn't have a whistle, and he would just yell, "Whistle! Whistle!" And so, bell. Good morning. Wow, that was great. Let's see who I am. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Columbia. Our minister is the Reverend Stephen Robinson, and he's covertly over here on his day off, supporting us anyway. My name is Service Leader, and I think I'll substitute Ivy Coleman for that, and I'm your service leader of the day. On those Sundays when Stephen's not in the pulpit, such as today, we present a variety of interesting speakers from this congregation or recognized guests from the wider community. You would be from the wider community. I'll let you know who this secretive man is later. He doesn't look very wide. Please make sure that, oh, wait, no, I'm skipping a paragraph, sorry. To those of you with us in the sanctuary, please be advised that this service is being streamed on YouTube, and on the website, there's a link to a Zoom event. We would still, of course, rather have folks here in person, but we appreciate everyone who's tuning in to our service. Now, please make sure that you read the announcements in your printed order of service, and also be sure to read the weekly events that are emailed to you each Thursday, as well as posted on the website. If you're not getting our emails, please go to our website and sign up for our emails. We'd love to send them to you. I urge you to keep the website open as a tab on your browser so you can keep up with what's going on around here. An announcement for parents. We especially welcome families and young children, and today children and youth are invited. Oh, wait, we do have a nursery for children under the age of 5. For those other children, 5 to whatever age we finally grow up, which for me, I'm still waiting on. Those children are invited to bring toys and books that are found in the back of the social hall. They can bring those to their seats to keep themselves entertained during the service. And parents who have any questions regarding our religious education program can please find Jonathan, Nancy, or Bethany after the service. Any of those folks here can raise their hand? Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Bethany. Appreciate that. Here's some good news as well. We have enough volunteers in our nursery to offer care for infants and children under 5 for the entire summer. So please bring your children, your grandchildren, whomever. All right. Now for our prelude.
In connection to this morning's topic, we're going to have a couple of special music selections. that are from the We Rise songbook associated with the Poor People's Campaign. And the Poor People's Campaign, or Poor People's March on Washington, was a 1968 effort to gain economic justice for poor people in the United States. It was organized by Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. It was a multiracial effort that demanded economic and human rights for poor Americans of diverse backgrounds. And today, the Poor People's Campaign has been revived and is led by the Reverend Dr. Bishop William Barber and Liz Thea Harris, a theologian, in North Carolina. They've picked up the unfinished work of the 1968 effort, coming together to confront the interlocking evils of systemic racism, poverty, ecological devastation, militarism in the war economy, and the distorted moral narrative of religious nationalism. The song that we're going to sing this morning is called Somebody's Hurting My Brother. It's by Yara Allen, who's the artistic voice of the Moral Mondays movement in North Carolina, and is connected to Repairers of the Breach and the Poor People's Campaign. This is a callback song, so there's going to be a part I'm going to lead and a part I'm going to ask you to participate in. It would be helpful if you feel comfortable to stand up. I'll let you hear it first. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Oh, it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Your part I'm going to ask you to come in is each time you hear far too long, and the ending, and we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's poisoning the water, and it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. Somebody's poisoning the water, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Somebody's hurting my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. And it's gone on far too long. Somebody's hurting my neighbor, and it's gone on far too long. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore.
Thank you. That was wonderful. All right. I'm a woman of a certain age, and it's stuffy in here. So me and technology are getting friendly up here. Whew. Anyway, so if you're willing and able, please stand with me now that you finally sat down. And let's say together our congregational covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in unity. Thus do we covenant with one another. Okay, now I'm going to let you sit down for a minute. Thank you. And welcome again. Unitarian Universalism is a diverse and non-creedal religion. We're a covenantal religion, which means that we don't have to believe the same in order to treat each other the same, which is with respect, equity, compassion, and dignity. Our community is based on our deeds and not our creeds. As Unitarian Universalists, we also side with love, embracing all people, regardless of your age, color, race, socioeconomic status, physical ability, or religious background. In addition, we've been officially designated by the Unitarian Universalist Association as a welcoming congregation, which means that we welcome can't even say it, can I? LGBTQ plus individuals. Can't believe I can't speak to my own people. That one, an acronym gets longer every year. And pretty soon we're just gonna have to say people. Imagine that. Now, I'd like to recognize those folks who go especially far in doing the work of this congregation. It takes the work of all of us to make this congregation go. But in particular, we rely heavily on our board members. So if you are a member of the board, and you should be wearing a green name tag, if you're not, don't worry, I won't name tag shame you. But if you're a member of the board, please do stand up, because I would like to thank you. And if y'all will join me in thanking them for all that they do. Thank you. And oh, by the way, they welcome all your questions, comments, and feedback. Now that they've gotten their recognition, I'll have to tell you that. At this time, I'd like to recognize any guests or visitors who are with us today. So if you are a visitor and you're willing and able, please rise and wait until Dr. Emilio comes around with his fancy microphone. He will not make you sing, unless you want to. But please tell us who you are, where you're from, if you have anything else you want to tell us.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Tracy Tisdale. I live 2 blocks away.
Well, welcome, Tracy, from long distance.
I heard Dr. Neal Jones was going to be here today, and I used to come, I don't know, maybe 2010 or something, and just wanted to hear him again.
Well, welcome back. You should come hear Stephen as well. He's awesome, too.
Hi, good morning. I'm Susan Crow.
Good morning.
And I'm a longtime Unitarian up in Greenville, now living in Hilton Head, and I go to the Hilton Head Bluffton Unitarian congregation, but I'm visiting my daughter this weekend and babysitting for her.
Wonderful.
It's so fun to see Neal up there. Hi, Neal.
I just have a question for you, Susan. Where's the child? Thank you for coming.
My name is Alexis Williamson. I am terrified of public speaking, so this is horrifying for me.
Oh.
And this is my 8-year-old Liza, and this is we come from Irmo, and this is our first time at a Unitarian church.
Well, welcome. It's okay. I'm scared of public speaking, too. No, really, that's how I ended up here. Great. Well, thank you guys for being brave. Oh, one more?
Yeah, we have guests, but they're too shy, so.
Oh, welcome, Shy. Anyone else? We have one more up here. Great.
My name's Kathy Paget.
Hey, Kathy. Welcome
Hi,
back.
Ivy. Actually joined this wonderful congregation in 1982 when it was in Olympia, and served quite actively for quite a few years with my son Chris, my husband Mike, and just really glad to be back
We're
in
glad
this
to have
sacred
you.
space.
We're very glad to have you both. Welcome home. It's good to see you. Wonderful. For visitors, if you're willing to, please fill out a visitor card that should be in the back of the seat in front of you. and put it in the collection plate, and that will allow us to send you emails to tell you what we're up to. We get up to some shenanigans, and we can have a lot of fun together. We won't come knocking on your door unless you ask us to. Then, heck, we'll come knocking. But otherwise, we just want to get to know you better, and please feel welcome to come back. We encourage everyone to wear name tags because some of us are name challenged, like myself. But now I know who I am. And I figure if I get my wife's name right, that's all I really need to get right. Well, and maybe the sister-in-law. As I jokingly say, Robin's going, no, I don't want to go with you to that movie. I want to go with Dana. And I'm like, Dana. So I remember her name because she gets to go to the movies that I don't want to go to or am not invited to. All right. Today's chalice lighter, the Reverend Stephen Robinson's helping me out with that this morning. And he's got a very important message for us this morning. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, I thought we could light a chalice today and have a honorary chalice lighter in memoriam. So today I want to light the chalice and let the chalice lighter be Sandy Shuban, a longtime member of our congregation here at the UUCC who died on May 29th. She was 82 years old. Sandy grew up and on a farm in Mercer County, Pennsylvania, for a long time until she attended the university in Cleveland, where she earned a nursing degree. She then moved to Pitt, where she earned a master's degree in hygiene nursing, and that's where she met Bob. Bob and Sandy were longtime friends and members of this congregation and active. They moved here to Columbia for Bob to continue academic career, and Sandy did as well, doing a PhD in research. And she taught community nursing for 20 years, 10 years at the university in downtown Columbia, and then 10 years at USC Aiken. You may remember I see the nodding heads who remember Sandy. She was a tremendously witty, intelligent person. She told me once that farming and research are pretty much the same thing. You're just overturning dirt. And so, it is my pleasure to light this chalice in memoriam and in honor of Sandy Shuban.
Thank you, Stephen. Spirit of light and life, come into us. And one more time to stand, if you're willing and able, for our opening hymn. It's number 121 in your hymnal. It's called We'll Build a Land. If you've been here before, this is familiar to you. Thank you. Please be seated. I left the pulpit for that out of fear for your safety. When I sing, it's a little bit dangerous. So I went down there and punished Neal with my voice. So that brings us to our guest speaker. Our guest, quote unquote, speaker is coming home today. The Reverend Dr. Neal Jones. He's a psychologist with the Pisgah Institute in Asheville, North Carolina. Neal was born and raised in North Carolina, and he earned his BA in political science at Wake Forest. Imagine that, political science. Would have never guessed it, right? For those of you.
Training for a preacher.
Yeah. He earned his Master's of Divinity from Southeastern Seminary and his psychology doctorate from Baylor University. He served as the minister of 5 congregations in North and South Carolina, Texas, and Pennsylvania, including the UU Congregation of Columbia for 11 years. He's also served as the chair of the National Board of Trustees for Americans United for the Separation of Church and State. Reverend Dr. Jones teaches and practices a spirituality of personal wholeness, relational respect, and social justice. And we're very glad to have Neal back with us today. All right. That brings us to our candles of community. If you have a significant personal joy, sorrow, or concern that you would like to have shared from this pulpit, particularly those on streaming, please email or text our minister by noon on Friday. If you are here in person and would like to speak for yourself, please pick up one of the candles in the basket in the entry area on the table and come forward to speak briefly when requested. We don't have any candles from remotely today, so those of you who have picked up a candle, please one at a time briefly share your joy and or concern. Have time. Did I go out of order again? Neal, you're supposed to stop me from doing that. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, everybody was looking at me kind of crazy, but I'm used to that, so I apologize. Neal, please come do your opening words. Man, you gotta watch me constantly.
It feels awkward to be referred to as a guest because I do feel like I'm coming back home. Our opening words are from a biblical scholar I first encountered back when I was in seminary a long time ago. His name is Walter Brueggemann. And Brueggemann says that the prophetic task of the church are to tell the truth in a society that lives in an illusion, to grieve in a society that practices denial, and to express hope in a society that lives in despair. That's our mission and purpose. Now, in the old days, and by that I could even say pre-pandemic days, I would invite the children to come down for a children's story, but I don't see any children, so I'll simply read it from here. And by the way, I hope that you do not feel too discouraged that you don't have many children right now, because as a guest speaker, I'm speaking at various congregations, mostly Unitarian, but some other denominations, and the pandemic just decimated the religious education program of so many churches, of so many denominations, and I feel like it's going to take a while for us to build back. So don't be discouraged by that. Just be patient and realize it will take time to build back. Our story is one you've probably heard before.
We skipped the candles. We have to.
No, I got to do the children's story.
Yeah. Is it good?
And then candles.
Damn, I really want to do the candles.
Yeah. We'll get around to that.
We have to wait?
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait. Yes, I'll I'll wait.
You've probably heard of Dr. Seuss. One of his famous stories is Yertle the Turtle. I'm not sure how well you can see these pictures, but on a faraway island of Salamancan, Yertle the Turtle was king of the pond. A nice little pond. It was clean, it was neat, the water was warm, and there was plenty to eat. The turtles had everything that turtles might need, and they were all happy, quite happy indeed, as you can see them swimming and diving around in the little pond. They were until Yertle, the king of them all, decided the kingdom he ruled was too small. I'm ruler, said Yertle, of all that I see, but I don't see enough. That's the trouble with me. With this stone as a throne, I look down on my pond, but I cannot look down on the places beyond. This throne that I sit on is too low down. It ought to be higher, he said with a frown. If I could sit high, how much greater I'd be. What a king, I'd be ruler of all that I could see. So Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand, and Yertle the Turtle King gave a command. He ordered 9 turtles to swim to his stone, and using these turtles, he built a new throne. He made each turtle stand on one another's back, and he piled them up high in a 9-turtle stack. And then Yertle climbed up, and he sat on the pile. What a wonderful view. He could see almost a mile. All mine, Yertle cried, all the things I now rule. I'm king of the cow, I'm king of the mule, I'm king of a house, and what's more beyond that, I'm king of a blackberry bush and a cat. I'm Yertle the Turtle, oh marvelous me, for I'm the ruler of all that I see. And all through that morning, he sat there up high, saying over and over, a great king am I. Until along about noon, then he heard a faint sigh. What's that? Snapped the king. And he looked down the stack and he saw at the bottom a turtle named Mac, just a part of his throne. And this plain little turtle looked up and said, beg your pardon, King Yertle. I've pains in my back and my shoulders and knees. How long must we stand here, your majesty, please? Silence! The king of the turtles barked back. I'm king, and you're only a turtle named Mac. You stay in your place while I sit here and rule. I'm king of a cow, and I'm king of a mule. I'm king of a house and a bush and a cat. But that isn't all. I'll do better than that. My throne shall be higher, his royal voice thundered. So pile up more turtles. I want about 200. Turtles, more turtles, he bellowed and brayed. And the turtles way down in the pond were afraid. They trembled, they shook, but they came, they obeyed. From all over the pond, they came swimming by the dozens. Whole families of turtles, uncles and cousins, and all of them stepped on the head of poor Mac. One after another, they climbed up the stack. Then Yertle the Turtle was perched up so high, he could see 40 miles from his throne in the sky. Hooray, shouted Yertle. I'm king of the trees, I'm king of the birds, I'm king of the bees. I'm king of the butterflies, king of the air. Oh me, what a throne, what a wonderful chair. I'm Yertle the Turtle, oh marvelous me, for I'm the ruler of all that I can see. Then again, from below, in the great heavy stack, came a groan from that plain little turtle named Mac. Your Majesty, please, I don't like to complain, but down here below, we are feeling great pain. I know up on top you're seeing great sights, but down at the bottom, we too We should have rights. We turtles can't stand it. Our shells will crack. Besides, we need food. We're starving, groaned Mac. Now, I know you can't see from back there, but you see a look of anguish, and sadness, and suffering in the eyes of all these turtles that are holding up King Yertle. You hush your mouth, howled the mighty King Yertle. You've no right to talk to the world's highest turtle. I'll rule from the clouds, over land, over sea. There's nothing, no nothing that's higher than me. But while he was shouting, he saw with surprise that the moon of the evening was starting to rise up over his head in the darkening skies. What's that? Snorted Yertle. Say, what is that thing that dares to be higher than Yertle the king? I shall not allow it. I shall go higher still. I'll build my throne higher. I can and I will. I'll call some more turtles. I'll stack them up to heaven. I need about 5,607. But as Yertle, the Turtle King, lifted his hand and started to order and give his command, that plain little turtle below in the stack, that plain little turtle whose name was just Mac, decided it had enough, and he had. And that plain little lad got a little bit mad, and that plain little Mac did a plain little thing. He burped, and his burp shook the throne of the king. And Yertle the turtle, the king of the trees, the king of the air and the birds and the bees, the king of a house and a cow and a mule, well, that was the end of the Turtle King's rule. For Yertle, the king of all Salamansan, fell off his high throne and fell plunk into the pond. And today, the great Yertle, that marvelous he, is king of the mud. That is all he can see. And the turtles, of course, all the turtles are free, as turtles and maybe all creatures should be. The end. I won't provide too much commentary because, frankly, I think I'll get around to that in the sermon. But I find this an interesting story to be a mirror of our society in many ways, in that we do have a very few people who enjoy a lot of privileges simply because they have a lot of stuff, a lot of money. Some of them have many houses on much land. Some of them have many cars. Some of them have many boats. Some few have even some rockets that fly into space. And what's often forgotten is they wouldn't have all that stuff if it weren't for the labor and sacrifice and struggle of a lot of people on whose backs they stand. A lot of people who work hard, not just to try to support themselves, but to support those very few at the top. What's really sad is that not only that many of those at the top view themselves as being worth more than others because they have more, what I think is even sadder is that so many of those on the bottom of the stack see themselves as worth less because they have less. It's a mindset that's built on a myth. It's not true. It's a lie. But I hate to say it, but so much of our society has bought into that lie. Thankfully, we do have a Declaration of Independence that says that it's a self-evident truth that all people are created equal. Now, I know it uses the old language of all men are created equal, but we've grown up since then, and we know that it means all people are created equal. Our first Unitarian principle of our 7 principles puts it this way. It says that we affirm and promote the inherent dignity and worth of every person. of every person. All the stuff is externals, trivial externals. But inherently, we are all worthwhile. We are all worthy. We are priceless. That's the truth. That's the truth. And that's the truth that we as a society need to hear more of. And again, I think that is one of our missions as a Unitarian Universalist congregation, to spread that truth, that we all have dignity and worth simply because we're human beings. I'll have more to say about that later. Thank you.
I gotta say, if there's anything worth holding off the candles of community, that was worth it. And the fact that that was the right way to do it. Sorry about that. So it is time for candles of community. So please, if you have a candle, come on up and let us hear from you.
I didn't expect to be first. I have a friend who has recently happily married her husband, and it was very beautiful and wonderful, except it couldn't be the ceremony she wanted because her family is very religious and controlling and tyrannical, and they're not making it a happy time for her. And so this candle is for her and for other children of families who are from tyrannically religious backgrounds.
Hi, I'm Robin Shearer, and I'm Ivy Coleman's wife. I guess most of you know me here. I'm lighting a candle for the fur family members that we've lost recently. Back in April, we lost our dog Goose, who was a hound, and very sad loss for us. And then over the weekend, we had to put down our cat, Chesapeake or Pie, who'd been with us for almost 18 years. A candle for them.
And out of respect for Pie, I will say that Yertle was wrong and no one rules over a cat.
Hi, I'm Christina Seal, and I want to do a shout out for my son for two things. He's gotten a management position at the zoo that he works at as a chef, and he just got that promotion, and today happens to be his 32nd birthday. So happy birthday to my son, Tommy. I love him very much.
Awesome. That's great. Is he at the zoo here?
At Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville.
Hi, I'm Bethany, and the candle that I just lit is because a movie was released this weekend, and I wanted to light a candle for that. And by that, I don't mean Barbie, I mean Oppenheimer. I was wondering about why it was released, when it was released. I don't know if any of you thought about the fact that in 2 weeks is the 78th anniversary of the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima. And I couldn't help but wonder if they released it with enough time for us to watch the movie, to think about the event, to tell other people to watch the movie, and to think about, what can I do? What can I do about the fact that we're moving in the wrong direction? Well, lucky for you, this is the 34th anniversary of the Hiroshima Remembrance event here in Columbia. It will be happening 2 weeks right after our service in 5 Points. I've been with this group for about a decade now, and it's going to be at All Good Books, and we've invited the very talented Al Black to bring some of his favorite musicians and poets to join us. We also are going to have the author Kathleen Birkinshaw. Her mother was a Hibakusha, a survivor, and she wrote a book about her mom. She will be zooming into us. We're going to be talking about the Savannah River site right here in South Carolina. We are contributing to the nuclear problem. We're also going to be, let's see, we're going to be talking about the Peace Pole Initiative, which I've talked about before. And I'm going to be bringing my famous Azuki bean mochi, so come and get some mochi. If you can't make it in 2 weeks and you still, in your heart, want to do something about this problem, come and see me. Make a donation to the next Peace Pole Initiative. Come talk to me, and I'll set you up. I have some flyers set out around the church, so the information is on it, and if you want to talk to me, I'd love to talk more. So thank you for this moment.
Anyone else have a candle of joy or concern? I'll light a final candle for those joys and concerns that may be too deep or too personal to share. And please, if you'll join me for a moment of silent meditation to reflect on those things that we've heard. Thank you. This brings us to the moment in our service where we get to share our abundance. We're very blessed people and very fortunate, and each week we give half of our collection plate to a good cause, and this month it's going to Justice 360. So please, if you contribute by check, please write "Share the Plate" on the memo line and support Justice 360.
Our offertory music is Sending You Light by singer, musician, songwriter, and activist Melanie DeMore. And this is another song that's included in the We Rise Poor People's Campaign songbook. And it can be sung and received in a spirit of connection, compassion, and love that brings us all together to see and support one another. To show I'm always there for you, and so I want you to know that I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you. Walk the path with you. Go slow, dear one, don't hurry. I'll go just like you need to go. There is no need to worry, 'cause I am sending you light to heal you, to hold you. I am sending you light to hold you in love.
That was beautiful. Thank you. If you thought I was excited for Candles of Community, I am even more excited to hear again from the Reverend Dr. Neal Jones. Yeah. Thanks.
I think many of you know who've been around for a while by now that Martin Luther King is one of my heroes, and he's actually one of the reasons I became a minister. Now, I know that must seem odd, coming from a white former Southern Baptist, but the fact is, I used to read and listen to recordings of his speeches and sermons, and I still do. And they still raise the hair on the back of my neck when I hear his baritone voice telling it like it is. His preaching of the social gospel, which combined religious faith with the moral imperative of justice, is what made it possible for me not only to be a minister, but to remain a Christian at the time. Now, I'm not too fond of labels, but if I had to use a label to describe myself today, I would probably call myself a humanist. We sometimes forget that for Dr. King, justice was not just a matter of civil rights, but also a matter of economics. The dedication of his memorial in the National Mall in Washington, D.C. was held on the anniversary of the 1963 March on Washington, at which King delivered his indelible "I Have a Dream" speech. We forget that it was called the March on Washington for jobs and freedom. The issue of economic justice was front and center. We also tend to forget that when Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis, he was supporting the demands of sanitation workers for livable wages, better working conditions, and the right to unionize. And he took a detour to Memphis, as Anna reminded us today. He took a detour to Memphis while planning a massive poor people's campaign in Washington to pressure Congress to pass an economic Bill of Rights that would commit the federal government to full employment and a guaranteed annual income for every citizen. Martin Luther King understood that political equality without economic security is meaningless. Without a job or income, no person can meaningfully pursue life, liberty, or happiness. What difference does it make for people to have the right to eat at an integrated diner if they cannot afford a meal? Or to have the right to live in an integrated neighborhood if you cannot afford a house? Or to have the right to be treated at an integrated hospital if you don't have health insurance? Dr. King recognized that our great nation has the resources to guarantee full employment and income to every citizen. What was lacking then and lacking still is the will to do so. Said King, quote, "Our country can do this. If our nation can spend $35 billion a year to fight an unjust, evil war in Vietnam, and $20 billion to put a man on the moon, it can spend billions of dollars to put God's children on their own 2 feet right here on earth." If Dr. King were alive today, I think he would be astonished at how far we have come in racial equality, but I believe he would be appalled to see how far our nation has retreated in economic equality. In 1968, the year of King's death, the CEOs of the largest American companies earned an average of 40 times as much as the average worker. Today, they make over 500 times as much. In 1968, the richest 1% brought home 8% of the total income earned in this country. Today, they rake in a quarter of the total income. 400 Americans have more wealth than half of all Americans combined. Now let me repeat that. 400 individuals have as much wealth as 150 million of their fellow citizens. That is obscene. Today, the United States has the greatest gap between the haves and the have-nots of any industrialized nation in the world. Now, from the end of World War II to the end of the Vietnam War, the average income of the average American family roughly doubled. Since 1980, however, the wages of average Americans have stagnated. Not because the nation's gross national product has stagnated, it has not, but because 4/5 of the nation's increased wealth has gone to the wealthiest 1%. The Pew Research Center has found that men in their 30s today earn 12% less than their fathers did in their 30s. In America, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class stays where it is. And the only reason the middle class has been able to stay where it is because, unlike 1968, families now require 2 wage earners. Families have used their homes as collateral. People are working longer hours, and we have credit cards. Before 1980, we were growing together. Since 1980, we have been growing apart. How did this happen? It wasn't an accident. It wasn't because of the invisible hand of the free market. It's because of the very visible hands of those with means to grasp more of the nation's economic pie for themselves and leave crumbs for everyone else. Now, conservatives say that they abhor the redistribution of wealth. And yet over the last 40 years, they have orchestrated the greatest redistribution of wealth this country has ever experienced. Economic power buys political power. Those with economic power buy politicians to do their bidding in the White House, in Congress, and in the State House, so that they get bailouts when their greed causes them to overreach, get extensions to pay their debts, get immunities and exemptions from laws when they don't want to play by the rules, and they don't have to pay their fair share of taxes. When Eisenhower was president, the top tax rate was 90%. In 1968, it was 71%. Today, it's 35%. Last year, the top 25 hedge fund managers received an average income of $1 billion each, but paid only 17% in taxes because much of their income is considered capital gains, which is taxed at only 15%, thanks to tax cuts in both Democratic and Republican administrations. When those with more don't pay their fair share, it means that the government cannot afford to protect and empower those with less. It means that teachers get laid off, classrooms get larger, tuition goes up, and public education suffers. It means policemen, firemen, and nurses get laid off, and public safety is endangered. It means highways, bridges, parks, and the infrastructure that supports commerce decay. It means less regulation of corporate greed and pollution, and the health of the environment suffers. It means Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid must be cut, and the health of ordinary people suffers, so that those with more can retain their tax cuts. One of the richest people in the world caused a stir among his class a few years ago by stating the obvious. Warren Buffett said that, quote, wealthy Americans have been coddled by a billionaire-friendly Congress. Our leaders have asked for shared sacrifice, but when they did the asking, they spared me. I checked with my mega-rich friends to learn what pain they were expecting. They too were left untouched. He continues, while the poor middle class continued to fight for us in Afghanistan, this was a few years ago, and while most Americans struggle to make ends meet, we mega-rich continue to get our extraordinary tax breaks. Then Mr. Buffett says with embarrassment, our legislators in Washington feel compelled to protect us, much as if we were spotted owls or some other endangered species. It's nice to have friends in high places. End of quote. How quickly we forget that the progressive tax rates of the post-war years financed the GI Bill to send veterans to school, student loans, the interstate highway system, Medicare and Medicaid, food stamps, public housing, Head Start, community mental health, the National Endowment for the Arts, public broadcasting, air and water pollution regulations, and other investments in the public infrastructure, which enabled the growth of the largest middle class in history. These progressive policies also engendered an American dream that every American would have access to the necessities of life, would be able to enjoy a decent standard of living, and that our children would have an even better life if they worked hard and played by the rules. The middle class grew in numbers and income until 1980, when conservatives began a 40-year trend of cutting taxes for the rich and cutting essential services for everyone else. Economic power buys political power. It also buys marketing power. Virtually all media in this country are owned by 6 massive corporations. When you control the media, you control the message. Those with economic power have sold us their version of the American dream, and it goes like this. The government has a deficit, and it has nothing to do with tax cuts for the rich and waging 2 wars for 20 years. It's because we're spending too much on health, education, safety, infrastructure, environmental protection, and pensions. Therefore, the way to erase that deficit is not by raising revenue, or plugging tax loopholes or ending war or putting people to work so they can pump money into the economy. No. It's to cut spending on our most vulnerable citizens and shred the social safety net and let the invisible hand of the free market work its magic. Get government out of the way, they say, and let people be free to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps, even if they don't have boots. This is America, where anything can happen if you just keep running on that hamster wheel longer and faster and don't take a vacation. So don't rock the boat or ask questions or follow the money trail. Keep your head down, keep your nose to the grindstone, and keep watching the Kardashians. And keep voting for politicians who favor the rich, because one day, too, you too might be a millionaire. Perhaps the most discouraging spectacle of all is seeing both political parties selling this version of the American dream, one simply selling a slightly less severe version than the other. And the reason both have sold out is because both have been bought out by moneyed interest. As long as politicians are in the back pocket of moneyed interest, they will never tell the truth. Like the fact that the Great Recession was not caused by big government, but by corporate greed and the lack of government regulation. It used to be called trickle-down economics, or supply-side economics, or voodoo economics. By whatever name, we've been down this dead-end road before. It didn't work when Herbert Hoover tried it during the Great Depression. It didn't work when Ronald Reagan tried it during the 80s recession. And it won't work today. Trickle-down economics doesn't work because it's based on a myth that giving more tax breaks to the rich benefits everyone. It doesn't work. It never has, and it never will. The myth goes like this. If we cut taxes for corporations and the ultra-rich, they will reinvest that money into the economy by expanding their companies and starting new businesses. And those businesses will hire more employees. And as a result, middle-class families will have more high-paying jobs. The problem is that this myth is not supported by reality. A typical example is AT&T. From 2008 to 2015, AT&T took advantage of tax breaks and loopholes that lowered their effective tax rate to 8%. So what did they do with their tax savings? Did they reinvest it in new businesses? Did they hire new people? No. Not only did AT&T reduce its workforce by 80,000 people, they used their tax breaks to buy back their own shares of stock, artificially inflating their stock price. Now, there's a reason why they would do this. Like many big companies, executive compensation is directly tied to the performance of their stock price. And AT&T is hardly the exception. A study by the Institute for Policy Studies tracked 92 tax-dodging companies from 2008 to 2015. So in theory, these companies should have been the biggest job creators in the economy because of their tax savings. But in reality, this is what happened. While the rest of the private sector had a job growth rate of 6%, these 92 companies actually averaged a negative 1% job growth. And to add insult to injury, their average CEO pay increased by 18% compared to the 4% increase of the average worker. It's time once and for all to bury the myth that giving tax breaks to the rich is the best way to stimulate the economy. It's not. It just makes the rich richer. What stimulates the economy is investing in top-notch public schools, universal health care, infrastructure, and a tax policy where the middle class gets the largest share of benefits. A few years ago, while arguing to eliminate the estate tax for millionaires, Senator Chuck Grassley charged that ordinary people shouldn't get a tax break because, quote, they'll just spend every darn penny on booze, women, or movies. Well, now, I'm not exactly sure if that's how working people spend their money, but the fact is that when working people have money in their pockets, they do spend it on goods and services. And that's what grows the economy and creates new jobs and increases our quality of life. This is not theory. This is a fact that's been proven over and over again in our history. When government has dared to serve ordinary people and not simply the rich. As long as our public representatives represent Wall Street instead of Main Street, they will never tell the truth. Like the fact that America is not broke. There's plenty of money in America. It's at the top. The top 1% has more financial assets than the bottom 95%. Like the fact that such economic inequality is both un-American and it's immoral. Like the fact that we are engaged in a class war. Now, I know we're not supposed to talk about class in America. It's okay to talk about race, gender, and sexual orientation, but we can't talk about class. We're supposed to pretend that everyone belongs to the middle class. But the fact is that class division in America is real, and each class has its own interest that come into conflict with the interests of the other class. Let's be clear. It is in the interest of the uber rich to slash the top income tax rate, capital gains taxes, and inheritance taxes, so as to shift the tax burden to working people and to create a deficit which forces us to dismantle our social safety net. It is in their interest to support so-called tort reform to limit lawsuits against corporations. It is in their interest to privatize public services. It is in their interest to eviscerate the unions. It is in their interest to keep unemployment high so as to keep wages low. Make no mistake, we are engaged in a class war, and you and I are losing. The threat to our democracy is not socialism or communism. It's not abortion or gay marriage. It's not even the teaching of evolution or reading books in drag. The threat to our democracy is oligarchy, the rule of the rich. We are ceasing to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and are becoming a government of Goldman Sachs, by ExxonMobil, and for Citibank. As Justice Brandeis once put it, we can have democracy in this country, or we can have great wealth concentrated in the hands of a few, but we can't have both. Back in 1968, Martin Luther King and the other warriors of the civil rights movement could not have imagined an African American president of the United States. The wall of prejudice, fear, and custom must have seemed insurmountable. And yet they persevered. They persevered to press against that wall until, in our lifetime, it finally came tumbling down. They persevered in faith. They couldn't see the outcome of their efforts, and they could not know the conclusion of their struggle. They sacrificed their time and reputations, their families and friendships, their careers and livelihoods, and their very lives in the faith that if they stood up for what is right and spoke up for what is true, some good would follow someday for somebody. Many of us in this room have grown disillusioned because the leaders we elected have not led. The promises they made have not been kept, and the ideals we hold dear have not been realized. And we have become disheartened because the forces of retreat and retrenchment have dug in their heels with renewed determination. But let us remember that progress has always been an uphill battle. Dr. King reminded us, quote, "Human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step toward the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle. The tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals." You and I must not falter or fail. Our precious democracy is at stake, and democracy is not a spectator sport. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? The time is always right to do what is right. Bill Moyers had it right when he said that the answer to organized money is organized people. We may not have the money of the 1%, but we have the numbers of the 99%. So get mad, get organized, and get busy. We are in the fight of our lives for our lives. Amen.
Our closing hymn is number 1017, Building a New Way. It's in the teal hymnal, and I'll invite you to stand and join in singing as you're willing and able.
Our closing words are from Margaret Mead, who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Amen.
Everybody's taller than me. If you'll join me now in our congregational benediction, you can find it in a laminated form in the back of the chair in front of you, if there's a chair in front of you. Okay. May the blessings of truth be upon us. May the power of love direct us, and may the peace of this community sustain us until we meet again.